November 26, 2012 meeting of the City of Lake Forest Zoning Board of Appeals. The board is here tonight to work together with all of you, property owners, neighbors, and architects, to continue the tradition that allows community members, that allows you, property owners, neighbors, and architects, to continue the tradition that allows community members to work together to preserve the qualities and the unique character that make Lake Forest a special community. We recognize the personal importance of each petitioner's request. Our goal is to respect the request of the owner while balancing the interests of the community as a whole. For those of you who may not be familiar with the Zoning Board of Appeals, the board hears all requests for variations in zoning and special use permits. The City of Lake Forest is committed to conducting open meetings. To achieve that goal, the board has adopted meeting procedures that ensure that all parties have an opportunity to speak. The procedures are detailed on the agendas available at the back of the room. This meeting is also broadcast on cable television. Speaking on behalf of the entire board and city staff, our goal is to move each petition through the review process as quickly as possible, while at the same time balancing the interests of the petitioners, neighboring property owners, and the larger community. At this time, I'd ask board members to introduce themselves.
Lloyd Culbertson, 4th Ward.
Richard Christoff, 4th Ward.
Sam Ciccarelli, 3rd Ward.
Stewart, Dixon, 2nd Ward.
Rosemary Kehr, 2nd Ward. And we will introduce the first item to be discussed. This is consideration of we have the approval of minutes first. We have minutes first from the August 30th, 2012 Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. Have all board members have the opportunity to review those?
Yes.
Yes.
Would anyone care to make a motion?
I move that we approve the minutes from the August 30th meeting.
And do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And then similarly, we have the proceedings of the October 22nd, 2012 meeting for approval. Would a board member care to make a motion?
I'd like to move for a motion that we approve the October 22nd, 2012 meeting minutes.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The minutes from both the August 30th, 2012 meeting and the October 22nd, 2012 meeting are now approved.
It's okay, we can share.
Now we will move to the introduction of a new petition, which is consideration of a request for approval of a variance from the lot and depth zoning setback requirements to allow construction of an addition and alterations at 301 East Vine Avenue. The owners are Herbert and Marianne Stride, and the representative is Streightiff, architect. First, I would like to ask if any members of the board would like to declare any conflicts of interest or ex parte contacts. Mr. Culbertson?
Madam Chair, I know Chip and Marianne Stride, principally because our children are friends, but I don't believe that will interfere with my ability to consider this petition.
Mr. Christoff?
No conflict.
No.
No?
I know Chip Stride. I have no conflict of interest.
And I have met Mrs. Stride, and just as with Mr. Culbertson, we have children at the high school, but I don't believe there's anything that would make me feel there was a conflict of interest. All right, now it's our custom here for anyone who's going to speak at the meeting tonight that we swear in all parties, if possible at one time, who are going to testify. Mr. Streightiff, will anyone be speaking besides you? Any members of the audience? Okay. Do you solemnly declare and affirm that the testimony you are about to give is true and correct to your best knowledge? Thank you. Please proceed.
Madam Chairman, members of the board, my name is Streightiff, and I will be presenting this petition tonight on behalf of the owners Chip and Marianne Stride. The primary intent of this petition is to request the approval for exterior improvements to the existing residence located at 301 Vine Avenue. The proposed modifications will require the following zoning variances for the 25,499 square foot lot. Number one, a variance to the existing side yard setback lines as the existing house is currently non-conforming. And number two, an approximately 586 square foot variation to the existing maximum bulk limitation. What you're looking at here is an aerial view of the subject property, which is marked with the red dot. The subject property has a significant amount of open space around this lot. This is a lot in depth property and is not visible from Vine Avenue. The existing house is currently non-conforming. The majority of the house sits over the current setback lines due to the current lot in depth setback provisions of 40 feet. I'll just show you a couple of the neighboring properties. This is the house immediately in front of the subject property on Vine Avenue. This is the house immediately to the west. This is looking down at Vine Avenue toward the approach to the house. And then this is the drive approach to the property in the back. These are a couple of views from the house from the second story. This is looking out from the second floor off to the west, showing kind of the backyard and the level of screening. And then this is from the second floor looking off to the south. Show you a couple photos of the existing house. The current owners, Chip and Marianne Streightiff, have lived in Lake Forest for many years and have lived in this house for the past 14 years. While they love this location, the house was originally designed and built as a spec house by the original property owner. Many of the materials selected and designed were based on minimizing construction costs. The Stride's primary objective for the property is to enhance the architectural character and quality of the existing residence to a level that is more consistent with the quality of the homes in the surrounding neighborhood. I'll show you a couple of the pictures around the house in its existing state. This is the back view of the property. And then I will go through the existing and proposed elevations. The improvements that are proposed for the home include the following. Number one, removal of an existing 9-foot by 39-foot tall chimney mass and replaced with a new approximately 393 square foot one-story screen porch and smaller chimney. Number two, removal of the existing non-aligned front entry portico and stoop and replace it with a new architecturally correct covered entry portico. Number three, removal of the existing first floor level horizontal siding and replace with a new lath and stone veneer. And number four, upgrade and simplification of exterior finished materials, which include new exterior trim, brackets, columns, fascia and soffits, and copper gutters. And number five, new simulated divided lights on the interior and the exterior of the windows, which are currently snap-in muttons. So this is the front elevation, which shows the existing on top and the proposed on the bottom, paying attention to the existing entry portico that's not aligned with the front entry door. And so we're proposing to replace that with a little bit better or architecturally correct and proportioned entry portico that is on axis with the front door. That just shows the existing portico as it exists and some of the limitations on the front porch. This is the proposed or existing and proposed south elevation, showing the chimney mass up at the top here. This isn't working. That we're proposing to remove with the addition of the screen porch and revised smaller chimney. It's also showing the entry portico from the side view here, which is a little bit faint up in the upper, but it's definitely a reduction in mass, at least from the front elevation. And then also the addition of this one-story eave line, which doesn't exist on a large portion of the house, as a further attempt to, I guess, bring continuity and reduce mass, at least the perception of mass with the one-story eave line. This is the rear or west elevation, showing this little area here that's hatched is what is currently the buildable envelopes with the 40-foot setback lines. It's just a sliver in the middle of the lot of approximately 7 feet. And then finally the west elevation, again reinforcing that first floor eave line around the house. The proposed project consists of improvements that satisfy the programmatic needs of the owners and will generally improve the character and overall appearance of the property. This request will not offer the owners a special privilege that other like property owners do not enjoy. The variation requested is wholly for exterior improvements and covered outdoor space. No additional interior living space is being requested. The Strides enjoy outdoor living and entertaining, but are in need of an exterior space where they can be protected from the sun, bees, and mosquitoes due to severe allergies. The owners have reviewed the petition with the surrounding neighbors and have their support on the proposed improvements. For these reasons, we would like to request that this petition be approved. Thank you for your consideration.
And now, city staff, would you please identify issues for us?
Thank you, Chairman. I wanted to provide a little bit of history on the property for the board this evening. A zoning variance was actually granted when the house was constructed in the late 1990s. The lot was established in the early 1970s prior to the adoption of a lot in depth provision, which currently is part of our code. That adoption of the provision that required a greater setback than for standard lots within the R1 zoning district created a hardship that resulted in a very narrow sliver of buildable area on the property, which was noted by the petitioner during his presentation. When the project was before the zoning board at that time, the clear hardship was established and the board did grant a variance. Construction occurred a couple years after that, and very few changes have occurred to the house since that time. The petition before the zoning board this evening is for an addition of a screen porch to the rear, a modified front entry portico, a third floor dormer out from the attic, as well as a replacement chimney. This project has gotten a little bit ahead of itself. You may have been out at the property prior to the meeting and noticed that the dormer and the chimney have been constructed on the property. There appears to have been some confusion with respect to an interior remodel permit that was issued by the city to allow the owners to get started on interior work. But at this point, the zoning board is to take action on the appropriateness of the screen porch, the chimney, the dormer, as well as the front entrance portico. Based on a review of the standards, the project does appear to meet the standards and the criteria for granting a zoning variance. The project also requires a building scale variance, and that variance, as well as the design of the additions, will be considered by the Historic Preservation Commission on Wednesday. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. Staff is supporting the project and has offered positive findings in the staff report for the board to consider.
Thank you. Do any board members have questions or requests for clarification from the petitioner or staff?
None.
I have no questions.
I have several. I did go out to the site this afternoon, and there are two chimneys there. Are you intending that the chimney that, I believe from your plans, is now part of the study, that chimney just goes away?
Well, the large chimney has already gone away. This chimney mass here was original.
Okay.
That's gone away, and this has begun to be constructed.
It looked nearly fully constructed. Okay, that was one question. I also had a question regarding the fact that it is a screen porch, and screen porches have a tendency to become enclosed. And in both your petition and in what was included from the request from city staff, one of the reasons that we're asked to approve this is because of the open character of the proposed additions. So in you're seeking the variance, then you're seeking the variance for a screened porch, not an enclosed room.
That's correct. There's
Okay.
no intention of enclosing it.
All right, and that was all I had, thanks.
Madam Chair, I have one question of staff. If the Strides want to remodel the exterior at any future time, would they have to go through this same process because of the zoning?
If the scope of work necessitated a zoning variance, adding additional living space, changing the character of the approvals that were granted, if granted this evening, then yes, a process would be established for that project.
Thank you.
Any final questions from the board, or any comments that the board might like to make? Would someone care to make a motion?
Chairman Kehr,
Yes.
just a reminder to invite public testimony, and also
I'm sorry.
to let you know that
It's such a small group of public.
2 letters of support were submitted to the board. I neglected to mention that in my comments, that 2 letters of support were submitted to the board and were included in your packets.
Okay, thank you. And yes, would anyone in the audience care to make a comment? Okay.
Madam Chair, I'll move that we recommend approval to City Council of the requested variance at 301 Vine Avenue to allow the additions to be added and located no closer than 16 feet to the south of the property line as shown on the site plan provided in the board packets.
I'll second that motion.
Do we want to include in the motion the point that it is for a screen porch, so that if the petitioner later on wanted to come back and have it fully enclosed as a room in the home, they would need to return? That's what I was unclear of from what Megan's response to you was.
And that's why I asked the question,
Yeah.
actually. My understanding is, well, maybe we do need staff clarification. Would they have to come back?
The findings presented in the staff report do indicate that this approval is based on the open character of the additions as a screen porch and a open front porch. So if something were to come in that is in conflict with that approval, then yes, they would come back before the zoning board.
All right, good. I'd just rather do it in a way that meets the needs of the owner today, but also makes clear part of the supporting reason for allowing this is because it's a fairly open area.
Would you like an addendum to the motion that incorporates that?
I prefer it, thanks.
Yeah, then I will suggest an addendum to the motion which stipulates that the porch addition will be an open porch or a screened porch.
And with that amendment, I'll second that motion by Member Culbertson.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The motion is passed. We now have the opportunity for the public to address the zoning board on any matters not currently on the agenda. Would anyone care to comment? Are there any additional comments from staff or other information you'd care to relay?
Just a reminder that the zoning board does not have a December meeting scheduled.
And so the next meeting of the zoning board will be, was it January?
The end of January, typically it's the 4th Monday, and I believe that is standard. We can email out to you
There'll be
guys
plenty of
the
time.
schedule.
Okay.
Okay. May I entertain a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Then all those in favor?
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed? The City of Lake Forest Zoning Board of Appeals meeting of November 26th is now adjourned.